the people that we love and we do all of that. That's what we do. But at some point, we have to look at who we're doing it for. And I sincerely don't think, sis, that this is going to end well for you. And I always want you to win. So if you don't take nothing, just take that. Think about that and what you're doing as far as the effect to the woman collective, Black, brown, and otherwise. Okay?
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. See, I feel like there's no right thing that I can say. And like, I'm going to get clowned for getting teary because earlier someone was like, oh, she's going to start crying. And I'm not crying because of anything else, but just that you are expressing care.
Honestly, sincerely, and I mean
that
this
you're expressing
sincerely.
care for me, and that feels good. And it's not because I'm feeling attacked or I'm not trying to weaponize my tears. It just feels good that someone that I look up to is
I have
looking
been
out for me.
concerned about you in this situation and in proximity to this man since the first time I heard about it. Truthfully. I do not want to see a Black woman martyred by any man. Not for love, not for clout, not for peen, not for status, not for any reason. So I've been concerned and had care about you in this situation for a very, very long time. And it came around just like I knew it would. And I want you to think long and hard. Make your next move your best move. Think long and hard about every move you are making inside of this situation and why.
I think to answer the question of why am I here, for two reasons. I didn't want to have people not have feels like I'm making myself a punching bag. That's not my intention. I felt like there was a person who was speaking when I first got on here who had so much passion behind what they were saying. And it's not that I was being utilized or even asked to do it, or there's some sort of back end like conspiracy on why I'm here. I just felt like I'm in a position right now that I can listen to what this person is saying. I care to know what this person's saying. I care to be a recipient of information. And I think I feel invested in trying to mend the mess that came out of that no nuance video that hasn't come up. I know that's not what we're talking about, but these are all reasons why I'm in here. I felt compelled. I don't know how else I can say that it wasn't anything else.
Jones, do you realize you are standing on the front line without your man? Do you realize that?
I do realize that, and I know exactly why that is. And
there should be no reason. There should be no
life is happening
reason.
On the other sides of these phones, guys.
No, I understand.
And not everybody, when people are sick and when people are dying, not everyone makes a post about it.
I understand that. But I also have seen, like I mentioned first, the pattern where these things happen and then all of a sudden this person isn't available and the only people on the front lines are the women. So while, yes, life happens, it happens every time. It happens all the time. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. And so I'm just saying, you are on those front lines alone yet again. A Black woman standing in the
alone. I look alone. I don't feel alone.
Okay. And that's unfortunate.
Because there's I'm not post when I post these really broad topics. I'm not, my alliances and my friendships, these are not things that I'm putting out there. And if you could trust me and my clarity, I don't feel alone. I feel very supported. I was on the phone with a friend, a TikTok friend, for like 4 hours yesterday until the sun came up. I'm very much supported. I don't
Miss
feel
Jones,
alone,
I'm not
even if I
talking
look
about
alone.
friends, family, and otherwise. I'm talking about your partner in crime. I'm talking about the other person who
I'm
created
responding.
the entire
Yeah,
inferno.
okay.
That's what I was. That's what I was specifically talking about. Not friends, family. I'm talking about the person who created this mess with you. Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Before Miss Jones speak, Miss Jones, when you're done, I need Ebony to speak because she's been waiting for like 15 minutes. So when you're
Okay.
done, I
I'll
want.
shut up. Go
That
ahead.
was my only thing. That
Oh
was just
no,
my only
it's
statement.
okay. I don't mind being silent while y'all talk. Just it's okay.
Miss Jones, if I don't leave here without saying anything other than this, I'm concerned about you, and I have been since the beginning, and I really want to see you win. And so please just think about everything that you're doing.
Come on, baby.
Okay?
You gotta get in there. Hey, I know.
Okay. Can I go ahead and say something? I don't want to interrupt, and I don't
No,
want
I'm done.
anybody to not finish their thoughts.
No, I'm done.
Go ahead, Ebony. Go ahead,
Okay.
baby.
So I did just come in a little ways prior to Voodoo speaking. So I don't know what was spoken about prior to me getting in here. So if I am reiterating something that someone else said prior to me getting here, y'all go ahead and let me know, okay? So the place that I want to speak from, and at some point takes out indigeneity and blackness from it, right? And I spoke to Miss Jones a little bit yesterday. Like she heard me kind of voice some of my concerns. I just want to speak to it, which I also agree a lot with what Voodoo Bay is saying, but also in that where I'm about to speak from speaks to a lot of how we as content creators and content consumers have to step away and outside of certain mindsets and outside of what we think we perceive certain situations to be. So yesterday, and Miss Jones, tell me if I'm not saying what I said yesterday. My standpoint was from the aspect in regards to the video, as well as subsequent videos, as well as comments made and things like came from the content creator perspective, right? And how we have to be responsible for certain things. Now, while we are not responsible for how people take what we say, most of y'all that know me know that I stick firm and fucking tall with intent versus impact, right? So from the content creator standpoint, there's a level of responsibility that we have to take. Okay. So in saying that, being content creators as well as content consumers, and I'm going to speak on my behalf and then I'm going to go into everything else. My behalf, meaning what I think all of us should do, is that sometimes we have to hear things and let it be strictly to what was said. Okay. So when I say I agree wholeheartedly with what was said wording wise in that video, I mean that. Anybody that knows me knows I do. Right. But also as human beings, all of us have to understand that sometimes when nuance is left out, we can't put the nuance we want to that particular topic, subject, or things that are said. Right.
Yeah.
And I did do that in that video. That's why my video didn't come down, because I still stand by what I said, because there was lacking of nuance. I put what I wanted to there, right? Based on my perception, based on subsequent videos, based on everything, right? Which where a lot of the problems that are coming from this video have stemmed from. All right. So back to the content creator portion. I know we are not responsible for how people take what we say, but in a sense we are.
Yeah.
Especially those of us, whether our platforms are big and or small, sometimes, regardless of the size of the platform, what we say carries so much weight that we don't even realize it does. And we have to be responsible for that. So all of these lives that have been going on, everybody's public perception of, Miss Jones's and Lance's relationship, or the Wombland series, or what they meant in that video, them putting themselves out there as content creators, making a statement that lacks context and nuance. I just feel it's very important to point out that we as content creators, to include them, we have to take responsibility for that, literally. Now, when it comes to all of these other aspects, and I want to go into what Voodoo Bay was saying, I completely agree. You know me, you know, Black women are at the forefront of everything for me. They're to be protected regardless. But also in saying that, I want us to realize that we, while we are content creators, while we put a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and time into our content, we are still consumers. We do not want people to have this perception of us, our personal lives, who stands with us, beside us. We can't put that onto other people either. So in that regard, I do understand when Miss Jones says she does not feel alone, whether it's her friends, whether it's Lance, whether it's whomever. Because I don't know them personally. I know them as far as this app allows me to know them. But ultimately, as content creators, and I am including myself in this because I lose sight of this a lot, because, you know, I come on this bitch and say shit sometimes, and I have to turn around and have somebody tell me, Eb, shut the fuck up. They ain't make no goddamn sense. We've got to be responsible for the impact that we create in this space over our intention of it. Mm-hmm. And I think ultimately, regardless what community this discussion has spanned across, that is the major facet. That is the thing. We don't have the grace that regular people do because we put ourselves out here purposefully. And some people don't purposefully, you know, but either way, we here and we got to take responsibility for that. So while productive and constructive conversations have come from this, so has a lot of anti-Blackness. So has a lot of anti-Native rhetoric. That, and I'm not saying this to like offend you, Miss Jones, because, you know, I absolutely adore you. I love you. We've had conversations before. But as content creators, when we do and or say something that spawns these responses, we have to take responsibility of it. You know what I'm saying? Right. So when you have people come to you and say things about Lance is not by your side, or Lance is anti-Black, or Lance is this and Lance is that, or you are this and you are that, a part of it literally comes to self-responsibility. You know, because again, I could have one follower and I can come on here and say something so egregious or something so truthful or something so innocent. The impact of my statements and the impact of what I am trying to say has nothing to do with the intent that I said it with. So I guess that's just that's just my take, y'all. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. I heard that.
Oh, before you go on, I'm not trying to read to the comments, but I also need people to understand when it comes to race, ethnicity, when it comes to nationality, culture, or heritage, if you are speaking solely, and y'all about to be mad, and I don't give a fuck. If you are speaking solely because of your personal lived experience, you cannot engage in these conversations, because that is not where some of us speak from. Because some of us, whether we have degrees or not, we have made it our life purpose to learn outside of our lived experience, to speak about race, ethnicity, culture, nationality, heritage, and things. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, there's no such word as anti-mixed race. So I don't know where that came from. When we're talking about white passing, child, listen. We ain't listening to them.
What the fuck? Who came up with that shit?
Child, mixed people who should shut the fuck up.
Who should shut the fuck up. People have come to my defense saying that, and I'm like, please don't ever say that in my comments ever again, please.
Because what I've noticed, to be honest with you, I even had a live today and I said, we're not talking about the subsequent videos. We're not talking about Lance's responses in the comment section. We're sticking solely to the words that were spoken out of both of their mouths. And for me, the conversation when speaking about white passing, when speaking about white presenting, when speaking about indigenous classification within the indigenous community, or the classification of Blackness within the Black community, it's not for anybody else but people who encompass those things. And if you are someone who are outside of either one of those demographics, want to talk about it, not saying that's wrong, but you cannot come with your personal feelings of those communities. You have to come understanding what white passing means and what white presenting means, where it stems from, what it means in the indigenous community, as well as what it means in the Black community, because while there are similarities, they operate differently. You can't come trying to say Miss Jones is mixed and she is a Black woman. You cannot come with your personal feelings when people are speaking about things that are solely based on facts. And that's on that.
Fair enough. Anything, Voodoo Bay?
Wait, where's
You're
Cisco?
I'm trying, right? I was trying to unmute.
I can't even see her. Why can't I see her?
Hey, I'm
Wait,
here.
hold on, Ebony, you can't see her?
No, I think it's because when I came in, Songbird's thing stayed there. So I lost her when I came in.
Yes, guys, I know Aunt Karen is in the box. I know, but right now, let's give the queen.
Okay, so shut up. No, I'm shutting up. Go ahead.
No, go
No,
ahead.
shut up. Just speak. Come on, Ebony, what the fuck?
I don't want to take the conversation to a place that I don't know if y'all have already been there or where
Take it
it's
to
going.
that place.
All right, this is also what I need people to understand. And when I say this, I'm speaking to all of us big creators. We do not always have to talk about everything. Because I need us, and to include me, to understand that when we speak on things, even though we're regular people, like me, I feel like a regular person. I don't feel that my platform defines who I am because of the size of it or because of what I speak about. I feel like a regular person. So it's weird when people say, oh my God, Eb, like I listen to you, you teach me. That's weird to me, right? But in that same regard, I have to understand that knowing that what I say sometimes holds weight to people. And when I say people, I'm not speaking to a specific demographic. So sometimes I have to, even within my mistakes, know that I have to shut the fuck up.
And you know what? When you speak and it holds weight, you know what that makes you? That makes you an icon living. That makes you a legend. You're a legend, Ebony. Voodoo Bay, you're a legend.
Child, we're not doing that because no, I'm not, honey.
Girl, yes, you is. I said what I said. The blue hair, the arts and craft you be doing, the reads you be doing to the white gals. You're a legend, nigga. I said what I said.
I just don't ever want to lose sight. And I want us collectively, especially of people within the Black diaspora, to understand that when we speak about things on whatever level that we speak about them on, regardless of whom we speak about them to and or about, that we have an impact that doesn't always match our intent, which means we have to do justice to ourselves and to one another within the diaspora of Blackness.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
Regardless of how you feel about certain people within that diaspora.
Mm-hmm. We have to be
I think that is so important for us to exude so people can understand we are human. Yes, we are going to say things that we fuck up. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to entertain pettiness and messiness. We're going to do that because at the end of the day, we are human. But we also have to do a justice to our community. And some of us ain't doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Any last thoughts, Voodoo Bay? Miss Jones, you're not going no motherfucking where. I'm not done with
I'm
you.
here.
You not.
I
I'm not done with you yet.
I'm here. And I feel like can I just say for new people who came in before it happened, I didn't know that you can swipe right to get rid of the comments. I have a hard time listening to what someone's saying.
Too. Yeah. So
like just so everyone knows.
Yeah, Ebony wasn't here for that part. So I kept turning the comments on and off and stuff. You know, for Miss Jones because you in the comments was saying some stuff, but then I just said fuck it, I'm leaving it on because Ebony, you know me, I'm a trailblazer and I don't listen to nobody. You know that better than anybody. I just left that shit on because I want people to speak. I'm not silencing nobody's voice, and I don't want to be accused of silencing anybody's voice like Nuggets and Chicken was last night. So I want everybody to speak.
Shots, Pat. Come on now.
I know.
Come on.
I know. I told the moderators, don't block nobody, don't silence nobody. Just let them talk their shit as long as they are respectful, as long as they are not demeaning Miss Jones or not disrespecting her in any way. Remember, just because I don't agree with Miss Jones does not mean I don't respect her. That is a black woman, so I'm not letting anybody disrespect her or anybody in the box. Trust me, I got this. Boom.
Can I
Go
say
ahead.
one more thing too before Miss Jones, before you talk? I don't want
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt you, but I do want to say this. I don't know what part, because I am a comment reader person as well. I do not know what part of what I said was missed. So let me just reiterate it in a more layman's term type of way. Okay. I don't give a fuck about what you think about anybody that comes up on this platform, whether it's my platform, Miss Jones, Voodoo Bays, I Speaks, whether it's Pat's, I don't give a fuck. If we are speaking about something that is a specific topic, that is particular, where we are addressing particular points, you in the comments also have a responsibility as a content creator to shut the fuck up. So if we are speaking about, in this moment where I was talking about content creativity and content consuming, saying that someone in this panel needs to speak to someone else or someone needs to apologize to someone else. I'm not saying that these aren't facts. I'm not saying that these aren't valid, but that is not what we are speaking about in that moment. And this is why conversations are not always productive and or constructive. And this is why some people, if you lead, not saying that conversations can't involve emotion, but if you solely lead off your emotion, if you solely lead off of the emotion you gain from what someone else has said or feels, nothing will literally be accomplished in that moment. No one is silencing you. No one is saying that your feelings are not valid, but understand that in order to have constructive and productive conversations about anything, we could be talking about crayons and goddamn milk. Until we have sat here and got to a point about that particular topic where we can come to a closure and move on to something else, the interruption and the expectation, the entitlement to introduce something else into that particular space makes no logical sense. That is all. Thank you.
All right, baby. Last words, Voodoo Bay, before I get EB and Voodoo Bay out. Any last words from both of y'all queens?
Yeah, so I wanted to tell you a quick story, right?
Okay, baby.
Especially because we're both of the lighter shade of yellow.
Yes.
So our black, right? I've been called white passing, which I think is funny because I truly believe what white passing is. If you can't walk into a room full of white people and them not know that you are other of any other kind, you're not white passing. So that's my take on that, right? So you and I both could experience that kind of rhetoric, right? So the other day I wanted to do this video. And so in the spiritual community, there's a whole thing that I do in the spiritual community, right? And I wanted to do a video about spiritualists who are still religious, right? And I had to stop myself because I had to think about my friends or other people that I actually care about or the larger community that it may affect, because I was really only talking about one person. But putting that video out would have had an impact on a lot of people. And so just moving forward, think about that. Because when you have a voice, like Ed was saying, you become responsible. And so that one take, whether it was meant for an indigenous woman or whomever, but it affected people around the world. And even somebody like me could have been affected by that statement. You get? And so we just have to think about who we're actually going to reach with our voice. And so I'm wishing the best for you.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
I love you, Voodoo.
Love you. Love you, Pat.
Love you too. Go ahead, Ebony. Last words. Shout out to the Queen of Virginia.
Listen, hello. So I just want to wrap up a couple things, and I've spoken about it in my own live as well as other places, and y'all know me. If I said it, I said it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm not, either way, I said what I said. Okay. I think it is unfair. Also, before I say this, let me go back to what I was saying about, so Miss Jones, you know where I'm coming from. So you know I have no ill will or intention in anything I say to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so I know you understand, but for clarification for people in the comments, because I've seen a couple things, I think it is unfair to have a Black woman answer or be the sole answer for a video that was a combination of an Indigenous man and a Black woman. I think it is unfair.
Finally! There we go!
Has Miss Jones said things that have offended the Indigenous community? I'm going to say yes, solely because I have heard Indigenous people say that.
Oh yeah, definitely I did.
And she's acknowledging that. But it is unfair when you have two communities whom are so closely tied as it relates to the oppression from white supremacy to have a Black woman, so because her man who is Indigenous, who is not here, okay, to have her be the sole voice as an answer to a video that was done in a collective is unfair. Especially if she's acknowledging she has said some insensitive things and things she maybe should not have answered in the way that she did. That is unfair.
That.
Okay, go ahead, honey.
I would be totally okay to speak to that. And
I'm sorry. Go ahead, baby. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say again, for people who come in, I would be happy to speak on that and continue speaking on it, because that's the thing about an apology, is that you can do an apology, especially in a live, but if nobody was there to hear it, then, or certain people weren't there to hear it, then they don't know that it happened. So I would be fine with addressing that and just sort of explaining where I know my fault is, but prefacing it with that I don't have the comments open because I have a hard time speaking with the words going, and I have a hard time listening with the words going. But should I take that space now? Did you have anything more that you wanted to add to it before I do that?
I'm gonna be 100% honest. I had a phone call, so I didn't hear anything you just said.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry.
I was gonna say before I do my my apologizing profusely for the BS that I said, I was going to see if there was anything else that you wanted to say.
There is not, but I'm just waiting for an answer on something that is totally unrelated to your apology or anything you want to elaborate on that before I drop.
Sure.
Ebony, you're good.
Okay, cool. Whenever you're good.
Say less. I got you.
All right, and I'm gonna mute myself while you talk, Miss Jones, and then I'll come back in a minute.
Okay, so I'm an asshole. Like,
no, you're not.
Such a jerk. Like, no, it's okay. It's all right too. Okay, so here's something that my mom used to say when I was a kid. She would be like, "I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm saying you're acting stupid," or "I'm not saying you're a brat. I'm saying you're acting like a brat." So I'll say I'm not an asshole, but I definitely was acting like an asshole. So I already saw the video that I made on this, it's going to sound redundant. So there was a thread that was going on about colorism. It was about shade. It's about skin color. And like Ed keeps saying, we've got to remember that like race is not the same as ethnicity and nationality. Even saying Australian is not telling me what a person's race is. That could be an abundance of things. So it was about white passing Indigenous Australian people. And I immediately was like, that seems paradoxical, because this is where my ignorance started, which was thinking that there was a standard way that Indigenous Australian people looked, and that my faulty logic was putting together this separation between this idea in my mind of what Indigenous Australian people look like and a white person standing right next to them. And I'm like, that's just like that's not it. Like the people who, if they're white, then they're like the descendants of colonizers, because what the colonizers did was try to get rid of all of the Indigenous people through various means. And so what I'm not doing is wrapping my mind around that there's a variety of ways that people look when they're Indigenous and from Australia. So I'm going back and forth. I don't know really much of what I'm talking about, so that's where I'm already fucking up. And then I said, Indigenous people who didn't...
I didn't mean to cut you off, baby. I apologize. Blackbird, I got you next, bro. Blackbird, I got you next.
Oh, Blackbird, sweet. And so then I said, Indigenous people who stuck with their own. And
Wait.
that... I said that I'm referring to when I say that the Indigenous people of Australia are Black.
Never mind, I know who to let up.
I'm like, it's the people who stuck with their own, and that was received so terribly. It was like blood purity. It was completely reasonable to have received it that way. But what I was padding my language because I didn't want to say the Indigenous people who weren't raped, kidnapping, all the things that come along with the extermination of Blackness. And so I said, that stuck with their own. So I'm like, if Indigenous Australian people stuck with their own, in the case that they weren't raped, weren't all these things, then they'd still be dark skinned.
Hold on. I apologize, Ms. Jones. I did not know an Indigenous person was waiting for an hour in the live, because that's what I really wanted in the live, to speak to you. Ebony, real quick, big sis. Can I step you down so I can let the Indigenous person speak? Because I had no idea there was someone named Balajo Jinda, but I don't see it in the guest box. What's the other name? Is it D South?
Yeah, I don't see them in the guest box either, but I will gladly step down.
Thank you, Lord.
You know why I wanted to stay up. I can come back later.
Yeah, come back. I want to make sure that because this is also an Indigenous conversation. I want to make sure Indigenous versus are
absolutely.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out.
Also, can I?
Go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. While you're figuring out who that person is, because I'll step down. I also want to say this. I want to say that while this. This ain't gonna sound right, but listen, while this is an Indigenous and Black conversation, I need us respectively as Black people and those who are Indigenous to understand that sometimes spaces, we don't have to go in every one to say something, right?
Okay.
And by that, this is what I mean. If a Black man and a Black woman are having a conversation about something that she's trying to sit here and now explain her apology, her train of thought, or whatever it is. Again, this goes back to me and the Black woman taking the brunt of a conversation that the person who was in the video with her should also be here for. She should not have to take the brunt of it on her own, even though she is recognizing her missteps within this process.
Agreed.
Does that make sense? All right. So with that,
and I want to make this very clear, Ebony. I didn't mean to cut you off, big sis.
No, you're
I'm
good.
not trying to sit here and beef with Miss Jones. I'm not. I'm simply trying to have a conversation with her man, because as someone who went hard for her man at one point, and I got doxxed and this and the third for defending him. You get what I'm saying? The way he's moving. And to me, and me and Ebony don't agree all the time. The way he's moving to me is just shaky, and I had
and you're valid, but we also have to understand that the lack of his presence, the burden of that shouldn't be put on her.
No, I agree. He should be here right now instead of his woman. Agreed.
Okay, but at the end of the day, we can't speak to that, and this goes back to the content creating and the content consuming. And as humans, we have to understand that in this moment, all we got is her. So all we can go by is her misstep, her intention, and her impact. We can't go by anything else. We can't, because he is not in here in this moment. And I'm going to be 100% fucking honest with everybody in this bitch. Him being here probably is not the best move now in this moment. Honestly. And I'm going to say why. Let me tell you why. Because
all right. Good,
I think you guys should talk first.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, she feels that me and him should talk first privately before, because if me and him just go on, I feel she's right. Yeah, because if me and him just go back and forth, it's gonna be a screaming match or argument, and it's gonna be like 10,000 people in here just watching us argue.
Yeah,
and she got a point. She got a point. That I can agree
and you
with.
know me, Pat. You know I'm all about.
I know.
Sometimes I don't mind being in the messy and the petty sometimes because we human and sometimes that keeps
Wait,
us
who's the
going. That's
king of
why we like
messy?
shit like Bad Girl
Who's the king
Club
of
and shit
messy?
like that. However, I'm going to sit here and literally tell y'all when it comes to the Black community, y'all know how I am. But when it comes to the indigenous community in regards to our correlation, our relation, our interactions with the indigenous community, these are careful waters. I mean, these are waters that we have to tread carefully on. Because if we start to sit here and literally adhere and abide by white supremacy, which a lot of us do, even when we want to deny it, even in the midst of our pro-Blackness or pro-Indigenousness, we often do that. We've got to understand that sometimes everything does not have to be a show for everybody on motherfucking Sidney Poitier's internet. Is there an apology that's necessary?
No. Luther Vandross internet.
I use historical Black musicians and actors interchangeably when we talk about the interweb. But what I'm saying is, I want us collectively as Indigenous and Black people to stop literally doing what the white folks do to us respectively and individually. And I've seen a lot, and honestly, and I mentioned when I asked you yesterday, Ms. Jones, when you said what your intent of that video was, I asked you, do you think that was accomplished? Because literally that's what came from it. The amount of anti-Blackness and anti-Indigenous rhetoric from Indigenous and Black people, as well as non-Indigenous and non-Black people, has been so disheartening. But I will say that there have been some, for those people who understand these terms, who understand race, who understand culture and things like that, who understand how to stick on topic and stick to the wording, some constructive and productive conversations have been held.
I'm going to let them on. I just don't want to interrupt Ebony.
All right, yeah. No. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hop off. I'm going to hop off. But okay, if time allows, I do want to come back. If not, it's cool too. But thank y'all.
I'm not ending this live anytime soon. We lit. All you know the vibes.
All right, y'all.
All right. On Karen, respectfully, I love you, but I gotta add 2 Indigenous voices that have been waiting for over an hour to hop on here. Send your request back in, okay, baby? Can you hear me, on Karen? I don't know if on Karen heard me or not. All right. I gotta add so I want to say this real quick. I apologize to my Indigenous res aunties. I did not know that you guys been waiting for a minute. You know, I always put my Black queens first. I always make sure my Black women always got a voice to speak. But for this specific situation, I apologize. Indigenous women should have been first in this situation because, you know, her man. Sorry, Miss Jones. I just had to put that in there. My bad. So I know it was Balojinda. So it was Balojinda, and it was, who was the other one? Who was the other one again? It was someone else. I can't remember the exact. Itty Bitty. I don't see Itty Bitty.
If you see Itty Bitty, I would expedite just because I know that she was a very
no. Don't leave. Don't leave. I got enough space. I don't see Itty Bitty in here. Okay, so I'll read off the usernames I see. I see Injun_Taco, Gen X Strong, which is a Black woman, D South, Galdat Creole Baby. I see Breezy in here, Deadpool in here, Constantly in here, Blackbird, the homies in here, Jamaican Black Barbie's back, Black Craft, and Bridget. I don't see the other username. It was another person. Let her finish her apology first. Okay, who? Miss Jones, were you apologizing, love?
Yeah, I was apologizing.
Yeah, baby, I apologize. My bad.
Yeah. And I sometimes when explanation is wrapped up in an apology, like an excuse, and I go sort of just like a story time plus. And so then I was at the stupidest statement that I made the entire the entire thread, which was sticking to their own, which is my cop out for not saying genocide. And it was and I didn't get the point across that I was saying that, like, had colonization not happened, there would be no maybe there wouldn't be maybe there would be white presenting Australian Indigenous people, but I was like, it's the sun is so strong, like how could white people be down there? They would just fry up alive. And that's where my failure happened. And that's harmful. It was exclusionary, and it was just ignorant, because someone wrote a comment to me that was like, you need to educate yourself about Australian Indigenous history. And I was like, no. It said, tell me you don't understand Australian Indigenous Australian history without telling me. And I was like, I don't know. I can tell you by telling.
Ms. Jones, I don't mean to interrupt you. Balo Jinda, I added you, but your thing is like transparent. It's not. Try to come back in here, and I'm going to add you back. I'm going to make it a priority to add you back. Go ahead, Ms. Jones. I apologize for interrupting you.
No worries. Yeah, and I think out of all the things I said that were just like ignorant and uninformed, that one was the most harmful. It erased, and it just the aha moment for me was that I'm like those same people. Like, I'm the byproduct of colonization in this country, not in the terms of like, I'm not indigenous, just the descendant of African slaves and their rapists. So it's like, for me to say that there's no such thing as a not dark-skinned indigenous Australian is just fucking ridiculous. And it took me stepping out of that conversation and sort of also in a snarky way saying, I don't know anything about indigenous history. And then it was like, well, that's the reason why you shouldn't say anything. And that's the reason why people are upset, because you don't even know what you're saying and how that impacts the cultural experience there. And that was totally just my stupid ass involving myself in a conversation that I shouldn't have been a part of. And
come back again.
And it took walking away from it to realize that the same harm could be translated to me and my experience here. And that's the agony and the beauty of us and our collective marginalized BIPOC identities, is that even though our experiences and our cultures are so different, we have a lot of the same things going on. So my pain is very similar to the pain that people were expressing. And so it's a matter of, I fucked up, and it's empathy, because I feel the damage from my own experiences, and I'm really, really, really super, super, super sorry. And now Australia is on my radar in terms of my education and where I will go next in this anti-racism and decolonization journey, because that's been, to be honest, a bit of a blind spot for me.
All right.